Good morning everyone, this is Arunima and I'm your biology teacher. Today I'm here with a wonderful chapter of your NCERT textbook, that is Animal Kingdom, chapter number 4, grade 11. So this chapter carries a very high score of weightage for your board exams. So let's see how the chapter goes. Okay, yes, the chapter name is Animal Kingdom. In this chapter you will see the entire animal kingdom and all animals, how the animals are classified and where do they live, their habitats and everything. Okay, so before that let me tell you what is an animal. What is an animal? You know that they are eukaryotic because it do have a completely well developed nucleus with a nuclear membrane, and they are multicellular in nature. The entire cells are made up of specialized or multiple number of cells which is designated to do some specific functions, and they are heterotrophs. What do you mean by heterotrophs? Heterotrophs are the organisms, they cannot prepare food on their own. So who can prepare food on their own? Autotrophs. Autotrophs are the organisms which includes the plant. All plants which do have chlorophyll in their cells, they can prepare food on their own by means of photosynthesis. And these are heterotrophic organisms. The animals, they depend on autotrophs in order to meet their needs. Okay, so these animal cells, they do not have a cell wall and they do not have chlorophyll too. And in this chapter you will see what are the different phyla or what are the different groups under which the animals are classified into. Actually in this chapter the entire animal kingdom is detailedly classified under 11 phyla. So here you can see on this slide, starting from phylum Porifera to the 11th phyla, that is the most advanced organisms, that is phylum Chordata. So one by one we'll see. Before learning about the phylum, you should understand on what basis these phylums are created. Okay, so let's see the basis of classification, or on what basis these animals are classified. Okay, the first basis is levels of organization, second is body symmetry, third one is germinal layers, or which are embryonic layers, next one is coelom of their body, metamerism or segmentation, then the last one is notochord. So we are going to see one by one. So these are the 6 bases in which the animals are categorized into 11 different phyla. So the first one is levels of organization. What do you mean by levels of organization? Levels of organization is nothing but how the body of an organism is composed of. So first one, let us see cellular level of organization, in which that particular organism do have a single type of cell throughout their body. And next, tissue level of organization, in which they do have different types of cell or the group of cells which are specialized to do certain functions. Then the third one is organ level of organization, in which all the tissues will form certain organs to do specific functions. And then the fourth one, which is mostly seen in higher animals, that is organ system level of organization. Okay, we'll see one by one. So speaking about cellular level of organization, you can see phylum Porifera. So these are seen under the coral reefs, and you can see this mostly grows under marine condition. Okay, so more or less it looks like a plant, but this is not a plant, this is definitely an animal which is very underdeveloped. Okay, so in these type of organism you can see the cells are arranged in loose cells aggregates. Okay, you can see the cells will be arranged in such a way that they are very loosely packed. While going to the tissue level, that means a bit more advanced type of animals includes phylum Cnidaria and phylum Ctenophora. So phylum Cnidaria is this phylum in which you can see the jellyfishes. Okay, yes, so in this particular type of organisms you can see the cells are arranged into tissues. What do you mean by, you know the difference between what is a cell and what is a tissue? A group of cells which is assigned to do a specific function is called as tissue. So here you can see the tissue level of organization. The next one is organ level of organization. To the next level, you can see that the tissues are arranged specifically to form organs which can do specific functions. For example, that is higher animals, Platyhelminthes onwards. Okay, Platyhelminthes, phylum Platyhelminthes to the highest one, that is phylum Chordate. And even when it goes advanced levels, you can see that organ level will go to organ system level. That means many organs combine to form a system which is specifically meant for doing a specific function. Say for example, respiratory system. For what this respiratory system is for? You know that respiration. Circulatory system. Why the circulatory system is needed? Just for the conduction part alone, your body have a system, isn't it? That is what you call it as organ system level of nervous system. Then digestive system. That entire system contains many different types of organs, starting from esophagus, stomach, mouth, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, rectum and anus. So all these organ combines together to form an organ system level of organization, and those are seen in, they are specifically for performing physiological functions. And levels of organization, again you can see under that some organ systems, they have complexities. And the main thing is a digestive system. Actually, digestive system is of two types. One is incomplete digestive system. So in most of the organisms, you can see the digestive system to be incomplete, which means they will have only one single opening through which the organism takes food in and leaves their excreta out. So that through a single opening. So the organism with a single opening, which acts as both mouth and anus, mostly seen in the phylum Cnidaria and Platyhelminthes. And next type of digestive system you can see is complete digestive system, in which a well advanced or well developed mouth and anus, that is two openings, are present. Similarly, when you consider the organ system for circulatory system, you can see in lower organism or in some organism, this circulatory system is open. What do you mean by open circulatory system? So open circulatory system in which the heart function with open type of blood vessels. Okay, so the blood will be completely flushed inside the body of the organism. While in closed type of circulation, like us, we do have a closed type of circulation. We know that the blood in our body runs through certain channels which are otherwise called as blood vessels, arteries, arterioles and etc. Isn't it? So when the entire blood is locked inside a system, that is called as closed circulatory system. Moving on to the second basis of classification, this is another means by which we classify the organisms. So this is an actually arrangement of similar body parts on two sides. So if you try to separate a body by in a particular axis into two equal halves, that will give you a bilateral symmetry. The best example is us. You just try to divide your body itself into two halves. You will have a left hand side and the right hand side, and you will get equal halves of your body when you cut your body through a specific axis, or through a specific main axis. That is what you call it as bilateral symmetry. Then when you consider, so these are the three different types of symmetry. What I told now is bilateral symmetry. So before that, we'll just move up and see asymmetry. What do you mean by asymmetry? So while considering the first phylum, that is Porifera, and you might be knowing snails, isn't it? The normal snails. Can you divide a snail into equal two halves? Can you imagine dividing a snail which holds a beautiful shell outside? Will you be able to divide it? No, it's not possible for us to divide a shell into equal parts. So if it is not possible, or if it cannot be divided into two halves, then you can call it as asymmetry. So asymmetry is mostly shown by poriferans. And then we'll see the radial symmetry. Radial symmetry in which, however, see, you try to cut the organism under different vertical planes, it will give you two equal halves. Okay, so examples are some poriferans, some cnidarians, some ctenophorans, then echinoderms. So porifera, I've already told you, cnidaria will carry the organisms such as jellyfishes, and ctenophora will have the organisms which shows bioluminescence. We'll see all the unique features of this particular organisms in the coming slides. And here you see how this organism is divided into multiple pieces, multiple equal pieces, right? So this is how the radial symmetry goes. And next one is bilateral symmetry, which I've told you. So bilateral symmetry, in which you can see the entire body is divided into two equal halves. Okay, that is what you call it as bilateral symmetry, which includes us, that is phylum Chordata and Platyhelminthes. So from Platyhelminthes onwards up to the Chordata phylum, you can divide the entire organism into two equal halves. Okay, yes. And now moving on to the third one, that is the third basis we classify. So this you have to think a bit deeper, in which the layers or these germinal layers are the layers which are seen in the embryonic stage. You know what is an embryonic stage? When this animal was a baby or a fetus inside its mother. That is what you call it as embryonic stages. So during this embryonic stages, you can see that the animals will start developing two layers or three layers. Some of them will form two layers, while some of them will show three layers. Here you see, this is actually the exact picture given in your NCERT textbook, and most of the time this question comes from this, just by asking the questions from this based on the diagrams. So here you can see there are one layer and the second layer, and the center layer you cannot see properly, isn't it? That is an underdeveloped layer. Then when you consider here, you can see the last or the outermost layer, which is called as the ectoderm. Ectoderm, the outside layer, and the endoderm, the most inside layer, and in between there's another layer called mesoderm. So these are the three germline layers you consider when you were a baby. Okay, you belong to the phylum Chordata. So when you were a baby or you were a fetus inside your mother's body, you were a single cell earlier. Once after the fusion between a sperm and an ovum combine together to form a zygote, and this zygote will further divide into a blastocyst. That you will learn in your second year, but still that the further development will lead to the formation of three different layers, that is ectoderm, exterior one, mesoderm, the internal one, that means the middle one, and the innermost one, that is endoderm. So these germinal layers will further develop into the externalmost layer will become the skin of your body, the mesoderm, that is the center layer, will become the internal organs in your body, and the last one, the innermost layer, will become endoderm, will become the lining of your internal organs. So this is how it works. But when you consider, so if your body develops three different layers, then it is called triploblastic. And if your body, there are some organisms, they will not develop three different layers, they will develop only two layers. That you will call it as diploblastic organisms. So you can see here how the development goes. So there are three different layers, and you can see in case of diploblastic, you can see that instead of mesoderm, they have a mesoglia. Mesoglia is a jelly-like layer, and mostly this is diploblastic animals. You can see that, and mostly Cnidaria, phylum Cnidaria and Ctenophora is kept under these diploblastic animals. And apart from that, when it goes to the higher phylums, you can clearly see that triploblastic animals, that is Platyhelminthes up to Chordata, you can see the organisms shows three germline layers when they are in their embryonic stages. Okay, next one, last one, not the last one, fourth one is the coelom of the body. Coelom of the body is nothing but body cavity. There will be a cavity for the organism. In this cavity will be entirely lined by the mesoderm, which we have seen in the previous slide, and their body will possess a coelom so that they can accommodate all the internal organs. So some organisms shows coeloms in their body, so they are called as coelomate, and some they do not have coelom in their body, they are called as acoelomates. And there is an intermediate in which they have small packets of mesoderm lined cavity. The example is, here you can see that the mesoderm is again scattered inside us in small pouches. So this is actually shown by only one phyla, that is Aschelminthus. Okay, we'll see one by one so that it will be very clear when we go to the next slides. Okay, so acoelomate, in which there is no coelom for accommodating or cavity, there is no cavity to keep, or the entire internal organs. And now coming to the pseudocoelomate, you can see that they have a false coelom, in which their mesoderm is actually not properly, the cavity is not properly bound by the mesoderm, in which the mesoderm is scattered in pouches. And the one example, so you should remember in such a way that one thing you have to take into account, you have to by heart the entire phylums in that order, so that you should understand the concept that Porifera is a phylum and second phylum is Cnidaria. So Cnidaria has got some advancement than that of Porifera. So likewise it goes from 1 to 2, 2 to 3 and till 11. So that means phylum 11, that is phylum Chordata, will have the highest advancements. Okay, same way after this Aschelminthus, you can see that the entire group, that is Annelida to Chordata, all the organism will have coelom or the body cavity. Okay, next one is metamerism. Metamerism is nothing but you can see that repeatedly arranged segments. Their entire body is made up of repeatedly arranged segments. That is what you call it as metamers. Okay, and this is shown by only two phyla. One is annelids, in which you can see like earthworm. You can see one by one segments. Okay, you can see this entire segments will go externally and internally, which divides the body of the organism. And the arthropods are nothing but the insects, the group of insects in which they do have jointed appendages or jointed legs. Yes, and the last basis of classification, that is notochord. Notochord is nothing but, actually this is a mesodermally derived supporting rod, which I've mentioned you earlier. The entire body, the internal organs of your body is derived from mesoderm, which is there in your embryonic stage, which is there in your body from your embryonic stage onwards. So the fate of the mesoderm of a fetus will be the internal organs. So this particular notochord is also mesodermally derived or supporting rod, and this is shown only by chordates. Okay, that is 11th phyla that will show this particular character or the supporting rod in their body. And apart from that, this will give you a classification, the organism with a notochord to be chordate, and they do not, except the 11th phyla, the entire organisms will not have notochord, and they are called as non-chordates. Okay, so this is actually the animal kingdom at a glance. You can see whatever I've mentioned, or what are the basis of classification. Okay, so animal kingdom based on the levels of organization, mainly cellular level, and cellular level you can find only Porifera, and the coelom of their body is acoelomate. And the symmetry, most of them do not show any proper symmetry. That means we cannot divide their body into equal parts. Next, when talking about the tissue, organ and organ system level, the symmetry you can consider radial and bilateral. So mostly radial will show Coelenterata and Ctenophora, and they do not have, I told you, Aschelminthus. Just above the Aschelminthus, all of them are acoelomate, and the organism below Aschelminthus will have coelom. So there is no question about the presence of body cavity or not. And the last one thing you have to keep it in your mind, Echinodermata is the phylum in which the starfish falls under. So when the starfish comes, you can see that the larval stages of starfish is more or less like a worm. So that all the worms will give you what? Bilateral symmetry. So whenever the question comes for your exam, you should keep it in your mind whether they are asking for adult echinoderms or larval echinoderms. So if it is an adult echinoderm, the symmetry will be radial, and for the larval stage of echinoderm, the symmetry will be bilateral. So here, yes, that is all about I have to discuss today about the animal kingdom, and I think I've covered almost all the points, all the important points which you can expect for your exam too. Okay, and I've referred the slides of Bank of Biology. You can also take it as a reference. Okay, it's available online. Yes, thank you. That's all about today. Thank you.